Good morning. We are going to be continuing with circles, okay? So we're going to be doing the area of circles today. So if you need to press pause, there's not too much writing today. It's just mainly going over and over and over solving these problems, okay? So if you need to press pause to write this down, go ahead, and then we'll continue. All right, press play when you're ready. All right, let's see. So we're going to do area like before. Area is the inside of a figure, okay, the shape. So it's the space inside of a figure. So words you're looking for is if you're going to paint the wall, if you're going to tile the floor, if you're going to put soil in a garden, stuff like that means area. It's going to take up space inside of that fence, okay? The fence was perimeter. Today is area, is the inside, okay? Now the formula on your chart, unlike circumference, which has two, one for the radius, one for the diameter, you only have one here for area of a circle, and that is A equals pi r squared, okay? So what do these words mean? Well, A, you probably have guessed it. The variable A stands for area, okay? Pi, if you remember from yesterday and the day, from yesterday, we're going to be using 3.14 for pi, 3 and 1400ths for pi, okay? And if you ever forget what pi is, it is on the formula chart. They give it to you at the very bottom where it says extra information. It's going to be there for you, 3.14, okay? Now the R, just like with circumference, the R stands for radius, okay? So this is going to be times radius to the second power, okay? To the second power. So to remind you what the radius is, the radius is the circle with the one that is half the diameter. So that's the radius. So if they give you the diameter, you are going to have to cut that diameter in half and then use that number, okay? So unfortunately on this one, there is not one formula for the radius and one for the diameter. It is only the radius, okay? So what does radius squared mean, or radius to the second power mean? If you don't remember, let's write it out, okay? So this still means area equals 3.14. Now radius squared just means radius times the radius again. That's all it means, guys, okay? Radius times radius again. So I'm going to write this down, that way you know how to solve it, okay? Radius times radius again. Now some students get confused and they're like, but ma'am, isn't radius times radius the diameter? No, it is not, okay? Radius times 2 is the diameter, right? If I were to take this radius and do radius plus radius, okay, radius plus radius, that gives me 20. That gives me the diameter. But here I want radius squared, radius times radius. So in this problem, it would be 10 times 10, okay? And 10 times 10 gives me 100. That does not give me that 20 for the diameter. So that is why you cannot use the diameter in this formula, okay? Now I'll show you what to do after these three examples when you're given the diameter. So today you're doing 3.14 times the radius again. And all of your units are going to be in square units. So inches squared, centimeters squared, meters squared, okay? These squared units, all right? So let's get started on our examples. So go ahead and copy the first three examples here. You can do one at a time and just see how much you write, okay? But I do know exactly how many lines I'm using, all right? So that's why I knew where to put these. Now, the first thing you have to do always when you're dealing with formulas, write the formula down, guys. It tells you exactly how to solve it. All you have to do is figure out the number you have to plug in the correct variable, all right? So we want the area of all these circles. So I'm going to write down the formula, and I don't have to think about which formula am I going to use. I only have one. There's only one to choose from, okay? That is A equals pi r squared. So A equals pi r squared, okay? A equals pi r squared. So you got that down. All right, let's keep on going then. Let's go ahead and go into the second line. Is going to be plug in the numbers. Plug in the numbers, okay? So I don't know the area, so that stays in A. Pi, we're using 3.14, okay? So put 3.14, okay? R stands for radius, and there's a picture there, so always go back to what the picture looks like. So there's the radius, okay? I am given the radius, so there's no extra work I have to think about. So the 10 goes right here, and it's to the second power. It is squared, okay? You got that? So 3.14 times 10 to the second power. Now we're going to go ahead, and the third line belongs to multiplying, okay? So let me move this up so you can see. So 3.14 stays there because I have to do my exponent first, okay? Now, do you remember exponents? This 10 squared means 10 times 10, okay? This means 10 times 10. So I'm going to write it down here for you right now so you can see 10 times 10, okay? And then we'll stop doing that because you should hopefully know how to do that, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and do 10 times 10. It's not 20, guys. It's not 20. Okay, 10 times 10 is exactly 100. Okay, 100. So a lot of students like to mess up on that 10 squared. They'll put a 20 there, but 10 times 10 is 100. Okay. And then the final step is going to be to go ahead and multiply pi times 100. So 3.14 times 100 gives you 314. We're in meters, so meters squared. Okay, 314 meters squared would be your answer there. All right, and you're done. So when you have the radius again, it's radius times radius. So 10 times 10, 100. Then 100 times pi, which is 3.14, gives you 314, okay? Always check your work with a calculator just to make sure you're going to get those numbers right, all right? Okay, good? All right, I wish I could see y'all. All right, so let's go to the next one. First, take a look at it. Is that the diameter or the radius? It's the radius, the little guy. So I don't have to do any extra mental work here. It's ready to go for my formula. So let's go ahead, and the first thing we're going to write down is the formula. A equals pi r squared. All I did was copy it down, okay? Second line, fill it in. Let's go ahead and plug in the numbers. I do not know the area. I do know pi is 3 1400ths. And my radius here is 5. And don't forget to square it. It's that little 2, it's an exponent, okay? Now we're going to go ahead and multiply 3.14. 5 squared means 5 times 5, which gives you 25. 5 times 5 is 25, okay? And then the final step is we're going to multiply 25 times 3.14. And let me see what I get. 25 times 3.14 gives me 78 and 5/10. We're in meters again, so meters squared. And you've just found the area. Okay, so it should take you 4 to 5 lines to solve these, all right? But write the formula down because it tells you exactly how to solve it. Then all you're doing is order of operations and reducing it down every line, okay? All right. Let's do another one. Okay. That says 2 centimeters, 2 cm. Okay. Got it down? All right. First, take a look. Is this the diameter? Is this the radius? It's a radius. Okay, I'll write it up here for you if you need to know. All of this is the radius. Okay, they're all radii. So if it's the radius, I am ready to go ahead and write my formula down. All right. So let's go ahead and write it down. A equals pi r squared. A equals pi r squared. Now start filling it in, okay? Area, we don't know it yet. You should put 3 and 1400ths right here. My radius is 2, and we're going to square that. Okay, so 3 and 1400ths times 2 squared. Now let's do exponents first. Exponents go first. So a equals 3 and 1400ths. 2 to the second power means 2 times 2, because there's 2 of them. That'll give me 4. And now your final step is to multiply these two together. And that'll give me 4 times 4 is 16. 12 and 5600ths centimeters squared. Just like that. Okay. Now, had they asked you round your answer to the nearest tenth, then I would have to round that to 12 and 6 tenths. Sorry, 12 and 6 tenths. This 6 will turn that 5 into a 6. All right. So that's how you do it with radius. Okay. It's ready for you. You just plug it in, plug in the numbers. Don't forget to do radius times radius, and then go ahead and multiply that times pi. Now let's get into the diameters. Okay. Same formula we have to use. We only get one formula. Okay, so let's take a look at the diameters I have. I'll try to go right here so we can still see. Let's go ahead and draw the fourth one down here. That says 14 cm, 14 cm. Okay. Now, this is a diameter. It is a diameter. I just need the radius, okay? So I need to cut this in half. So if the whole thing is 14, half of that is 7. Half of that is 7. So to find the radius, I'm going to put it here that we have in your notes. Radius equals 14 divided by 2. 14 divided by 2. So that means my radius is 7. And that's how we get 7. All right, let me go ahead and make my line there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. So that's how we got 7 as my radius. So if you're given the diameter, divide it by 2. Now you have your radius. Okay. Now that I have the radius figured out, I can use my formula. So first line is always going to be the formula. A equals pi radius squared. And now that we've figured out the radius, I'm going to plug in the correct numbers. Pi is always 3 and 1400ths right now. Radius, we figured out, is 7. So 7 squared. Okay, 7 squared. Now 14 squared, 7 squared. Got that? Okay. Now we're going to do our exponent first. So 3 and 1400ths. 7 squared means 7 times 7. So it's not 14. You see, it's not 14. 7 times 7 is 49. Just like that. And then the final step is to multiply 49 times 3.14. 153 and 8600ths centimeters squared. And again, if they want you to round to the nearest tenth, that 6 would make the 8 go to a 9, and it would be 153 and 9/10. So always check the answer choices and check the question to see, do they want me to round or leave it alone? If they don't tell you to round, that means they want you to leave it alone. Okay, but if they say round to the nearest tenth, to the nearest hundredth, to the nearest whole number, then you're going to have to do some rounding. But if it doesn't say anything like that, then you're good right there. Okay? All right, so diameters, we have one extra step we have to do. And usually with this, you can probably do it mentally, but just in case, you can write it down. So let's look at the next circle. 5 inches, and first of all, what is this? That is a diameter. Okay, so this is another diameter. So to find the radius, we're going to take the diameter and divide it by 2. which means my radius, what's 5 divided by 2? 2.5. 2.5, okay? So that means my radius, this little part right here, is 2.5, okay? So now that I have the radius, now I can go into the formula because I cannot use that 5 in my formula, okay, because it's the diameter. So let's go ahead and write down the formula down. A equals pi times the radius squared. That's on your formula chart. We can't change it. That's the way it is, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and plug in my numbers. Pi is 3 14/100. The radius we figured out is 2 5/10. So 2 5/10 squared. Okay, squared on that one. Got it? Now we're going to go ahead and do the exponent. So area equals 3 14/100 times 6 25/100. Okay, that means 2.5 times 2.5. Okay, we got 6.25 for 6 25/100. And then the last step, go ahead and multiply that times 3.14. So definitely right here, I would really check my work with a calculator, or when I'm multiplying by paper and pencil, really check how many decimal places I'm moving, okay? Especially on a problem that has a decimal as a radius, okay? So you want to make sure you're moving the correct amount of decimal places. So when I multiplied here, I got 19 625 thousandths, and we're in inches squared. And again, if they want you to round to the nearest tenth, the 2 would leave the 6 alone, so your answer could be 19 6/10. Okay, it all depends on what they want in the answer, so always make sure you are reading the question correctly. All right, not too bad. Okay, number 6 always gets students confused once in a while, so go ahead and draw that. That's a diameter of 1. A diameter of 1. So maybe you can do this mentally, okay? I know I need the radius for the formula for area. So what is half of 1? It's half. It's 0.5. It's 5/10, okay? So a lot of students will say 0.50. I really don't need that 0 at the end, okay? So that is a 5. Good. So the radius here, radius equals 0.5. Okay, you can do that mentally. All right. Now that I have the radius, I'm ready for my formula. So A equals pi radius squared. A equals pi times the radius squared. Let's plug in our numbers. By now you should know that pi is 3.14. That's what we're using. The radius we figured out mentally is 5/10, and that's going to be squared. Okay, so when you do this, you need to make sure that you move the decimal correctly. Okay, so 0.5 squared, I forgot to change my pen, is going to be, I know it's 25, but I have that decimal, so it's going to be 0.25, 25/100, okay? Because 0.5 times 0.5 gives me 25, but there's 2 decimal places I have to move, okay? So definitely be careful with those decimals. And then I'm going to multiply that times 3 14/100, and that gives me an area of 0 785 thousandths feet squared. Oops. And there's my little square. And just like always, if they want me to round, I will see if they want to round to the tenths or the hundredths. It's usually the tenths. So this would actually be, or could be, an answer of 0 and 1/10. I mean 0 and 8/10. 0 and 8/10. So just double check and see if they want you to round or not. Okay. So that's the diameter. So when you're given the diameter, you have to divide the diameter in half, divide by 2, and then go ahead and plug that into your formula because that's the radius. That's how you found the radius, okay? All right. Let's go to these last 3. That. Okay, go ahead and copy number 7 down. All right, and press play when you're ready. Now, this again is our semicircle, okay? This again is our semicircle. Now, if you remember the semicircle, here it is. It gives you the diameter, plus it tells me that I have to divide my answer by 2. I have to divide by 2. But more importantly, this is the diameter, okay? So this 8 is my diameter. I don't need the diameter, do I? I need the radius. So again, to find the radius, we're going to take the 8 and divide it by 2, which gives me 4. Okay, so the radius is 4. Got that? Now I can plug in my numbers. Let's write down the formula first, okay? So area equals pi times the radius squared. But don't forget, this is a semicircle. It is half a circle. So I need to divide by 2. And that is because it is half the size of a whole circle. So that's why I'm dividing by 2. And I'm putting it there right now so I don't forget. Okay, I don't want to forget to divide by 2 because I guarantee you if I do not divide by 2, the answer is going to be there. It's going to be there waiting for you to make that mistake. Okay, so definitely write it down in that formula just to remind myself, oh yeah, it's half a circle, I have to divide by 2. So now we can plug in my numbers, okay? Area is unknown. Pi is 3 14/100. The radius we figured out is 4, okay? Because the radius is just half this size. So it's going to be 4 to the second power and then divided by 2 because it is half of a whole circle. Half a whole circle. Okay? Got that? Now let's do the order of operations, okay? Exponents go first. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. 4 squared means 4 times 4, which is not 8, guys. It's 16. 4 times 4 is 16. So I'm going to put 16 right here. And then don't forget to divide by 2. I'm going to go ahead and follow left to right. So 3.14 times 16 gives me 50 and 24/100. And all I do is multiply. Bring down that divide by 2. So if you got 15 24/100, you're going to see that right there on your multiple choice. Just like, you know, circle me, you're done. No, we are not done. This is half of a circle, so that's why I have to add that divide by 2. So now I'm going to cut that in half. So 50 and 24/100 divided by 2 gives me 25 and 12/100. So area equals 25 and 1200 centimeters squared. So again, we divided by 2 because this is half of the whole circle. I don't want, you know, it's just half of it. That's why I divided by 2. Okay, so your answer here is 25 and 1200 centimeters squared. Okay, all right. Number 8, go ahead and copy that down. Write down the multiple choices, just like yesterday. So write down the multiple choice and press play when you're ready. All right. So I wanted to make sure we did this one together. Okay. Oh, that said 10 meters. Sorry, 10 M. 10 M. All right. Now, look at the multiple choice. Just like in circumference, you might have this. Okay. If you take a look at the multiple choice answers, they left the pi symbol alone. Okay. So when they do this to you, it's actually easier because I don't have to multiply in 3.14. I leave the symbol as is, okay? It's not a variable. Pi is not a variable. It's just a symbol, and we already know what number it represents. It's 3.14. It's pi, okay? It's the infinite decimal. It goes on forever. So it's not a variable. It's just, I know what this number represents, so I can leave it there. It's fine. So when you have a multiple choice like this, and they have the symbol there, you leave the symbol there as well in your formula. All right, so let me show you how this works. Just like with circumference. I know this is area, so I'm going to write down my formula. Pi times the radius squared. Look at this right here. This is the radius, so I don't have to do any mental dividing by 2, so I'm good. Area, we don't know. That is the unknown variable. Okay, I don't know what the area is here yet. I do know what pi represents, but if I look at my answer choices, they left the symbol alone. I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, just leave it there. The radius, it's a variable, and we figured out that it is 10. 10. So this is going to be times 10 squared. And it's a whole circle, so we're good. No dividing, nothing like that. Exponents go first. Again, I'm going to leave the symbol alone. And this means 10 times 10, which is 100. Now, the pretty way, the nice way to write this down is always going to be your number goes first, so 100. Leave the symbol alone, and we are in meters squared, which will give you the answer of letter C. Okay? Now, if you take a look at the answer choices, they do have that 20 there for when you do 10 times 10 and you think it's 20. So be very careful. Be very careful, okay? But when they have the symbol in your answer, you just leave the symbol alone. You're just multiplying the radius times the radius, okay? All right, go ahead and write down number 9 and press play when you're ready. All right, how many square inches? So that already tells me I'm looking at area because area is squared, okay? Perimeter, single units. Area, squared units. Volume, cube units, okay? So square unit inches of crust would take to cover the bottom of a pie dish with a 15-inch diameter. They gave me the diameter, okay? So here the diameter is 15. I already know it's going to be a radius that I need. So radius equals 15 divided by 2. And 15 divided by 2 is 7 5/10. Okay, so there's step 1 because I need the radius if they gave me the diameter. Now I can go ahead and use my formula that is given to me. Pi times the radius squared. Okay, so I have to divide the diameter in half because it is diameter. I need the radius. So now let's go ahead and plug in the numbers we know. I don't know the variable for area. Looks like this is a regular problem, so I'm going to go ahead and input 3 1400 for pi because that is what we know what pi is. Radius, we figured out the radius to be 7 5/10, and that's going to be squared. Now let's do our math, okay? Exponents go first. Exponents go first, so it's going to be 7 5/10 times 7 5/10. 56 2500. 56 2500. Okay, so definitely on this one, be careful with how many times you're moving that decimal. Okay, and that's where we make some mistakes. All right, and now when I multiply this together, I'm going to get 176 and 625 thousandths. We're in inches, so inches squared. And again, if they wanted me to round, I would round to the nearest tenth if they asked, only if they asked me to. Okay, so guys, on the Google form, if I don't say anything about rounding, you do not round. Leave the number as it is. Only if I say round to the 10th would I have to round this 6 right here. And I would leave it as 176.6. Okay, so watch out for that. All right, let's go ahead and try it out then. Remember, you're finding the area of these shapes. So go ahead and copy that down. It just says try it on the top. So press pause, copy it down, try it out, press play when you're ready to see the answers and see how you did. Okay? All right, let's see how you did. Okay. So first of all, this is a diameter. You should have figured out that the radius is 3. So area equals pi times the radius squared. Let's plug it in. Let's see what you did here. Did you put 3 squared? Hopefully you did. Let's see if you got this one right. A lot of students get this one wrong. 3 times 3 is not 6. It is 9. So check that. Okay. And then 3.14 times 9, just to make sure I get it right, I want to make sure the multiplication is right, is 28 and 2600 meters squared. Okay, so check that one. Okay, let's see the next one. The next one is a radius. So you didn't have to do any extra work here. So let's see what you got. A equals pi times the radius squared. Then you should have done 3.14 times 4 squared. And then you should have done 4 times 4, which is 16, not 8. And then lastly, you should have got area equals 50 and 2400 centimeters squared. Okay, how'd you do on that one? Hopefully you did 4 times 4 is 16, not 8. And let's look at the word problem. Patricia buys a round dinner table. The radius, big word I need right there, of the dinner table is 6 meters. So here's my dinner table. Radius is the little guy, and it is 6 meters. Okay, what is the area? So that tells me right there, I'm not doing circumference, I am doing area of a formula, so make sure you get the right formula first. So area, I would always double check my formula chart, guys. Area equals pi times the radius squared. Pi is always going to be 3.14 right now. Radius, they gave it to me, it's 6, and we're going to square that. So squaring 6 would be 6 times 6, which is 36, okay, not 12. That's another misconception. So always double check. Take your time, go slow, okay? A lot of students, they just make these mistakes because they're going too fast, all right? And so now I'm going to do 36 times 3 and 1400. You should have got 113 and 400 meters squared. So now she knows exactly how much fabric she might need if she's going to make a tablecloth. Okay, that's why it's good to know. All right, so hopefully you got those right. Double check your math, double check it with a calculator, and we should be good. All right, any questions, guys, come to the Google Meet and I will gladly answer them. All right, y'all have a great day.